Everybody remember, we're being recorded, so what you say can and will be used against you in the court of law.
Okay, now we got the Zoom stream going, so that's good. Yes. So please keep it a clean show. No swearing or nothing here. Oh,
I may have to dip out at some point.
that's fine, Audrey. Just drop out whenever.
Okay, good.
I understand.
Can I rejoin if
you drop out, you'll end up coming back in as an attendee.
That's okay.
Sometimes, or you may come back as a panelist. So
well, I can still hear what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Great. Thanks.
So no problem. So again, welcome everybody to the December Digital Forum. We're 54 people. Hope everybody had a great Christmas and got all the neat toys that you wanted. We may have to talk about that and see if anybody got anything neat technology-wise. But there are sure enough specials going on out there this month of December for everybody to buy programs or equipment at a good rate. So one important thing for the attendees is please ask questions. You as attendees and even the panelists drive this show. It's not something that I just want to sit and talk for 2 hours. Our second hour will be about Luminar AI and all the things that it can do. For those of you that may have gotten and started playing with it, it's a very interesting, easy to use program. So we'll talk about that in the second hour. But first hour, anybody got questions or problems? Kathy, I should ask you, did you get your computer up and going? Is that the new one or the old one yet?
No, it's still in progress.
Oh, boy. I don't know.
I'm waiting to talk to the guy again at Apple support after, let's see, today's Saturday. I'm not sure if he's working today, but what my problem started with this Apple terminal for Time Machine.
Yeah.
And years ago, when I first bought an Apple computer, I didn't have connection to the internet. So they sold me a terminal with a modem in it. And then it worked. And then 5 years ago, I switched from my regular phone landline to a VoIP thing with AT&T, and they gave me a modem. So I have two modems. And that's where the problem is, figuring out which one to use to get all the stuff from the old computer to the new one. And we started doing all that, and for some reason it wasn't working. It was the iCloud password that I had a problem with. So then he says, okay, we'll wipe everything out and we'll start over, transferring everything over. And then it started working. And then I have photos and I have iPhoto from many years ago. And it was copying all this stuff. And it said it will take 12 hours or some ridiculous number like that. And so I got a message saying after 12 hours that it looks like it's repeating a lot of the same stuff. Do you want to stop or do you want to continue or what do you want to do? And this was like 11 o'clock at night. So I thought, oh, well, I'm going to stop. Well, then the next day I found out that I shouldn't have done that.
Oh.
And, after talking to the Apple support person. And so then he said it's just the iPhoto and the Photos app that was causing the problem. So then he just singled out those two and said he would send the copy over to the new computer. And then it said it would only take 5 or 6 hours. I thought, okay. And so I haven't talked to him since then because it's over there, but I'm waiting for the holidays to get over with.
Yeah, boy. I've never had so much, heard so many problems on switching. I've done that about on 4 computers for people, and it never had that kind of problem.
But did they have a modem involved in their?
No, we just actually, it was all my 2 of the computers were mine, and I just over my same Wi-Fi network just transferred everything from one computer to the other. But for another person, I did do it just off a Time Machine, but they had Time Machine on a separate hard drive. And so all we had to do was plug that hard drive from the old computer into the new computer and transferred all the data that way. And what I was going to suggest to you is maybe just run a Time Machine back up onto a hard drive from your old computer, plug it into your new computer, and have it just transfer it all over, and you'd be all done. I'm surprised Apple didn't tell you just to do that.
Yeah, the only thing you have to watch there is that you don't want to drag everything from the Time Machine, like the whole timeline, back on there, because it's just way too much information. You want to be kind of somewhat quote unquote selective about the files you bring back in. Bring in your documents folder, bring in your pictures folder, bring in your photos library individually. Don't just do a blanket backup from your Time Machine.
But you can actually, from Time Machine, using Migration Assistant, you can tell it through Migration Assistant everything to bring back. So you can basically copy your desktop and all your apps over to your main computer using Migration. What she's having problems with for some reason is Migration Assistant. Usually you could do it between 2 computers with Wi-Fi. And do it. But she's got a double Wi-Fi setup. Yeah.
It's some of the stuff is over. So, he's transferring it through that. I'm not sure if it's Migration Assistant or if it's Airport.
Yeah, he may be doing it.
But it's getting over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, to me, the easiest might have been just to run the Time Machine on a separate hard drive, plug it into the new one, and use Migration Assistant to pull everything you needed from that hard drive over, instead of using the Time Machine capsule that you've got. Well,
and part of the other problem was that iCloud, the password for iCloud wasn't recognized. So I looked through all my records and I gave him what I thought was the password, but apparently it wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
But now that part's working. So I'm waiting for him to come back to work after the holidays.
Yeah.
And I just wish this hadn't come before Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. It shouldn't have been that hard. Most of the time for most people, it goes 1, 2, 3.
That's what I'm finding out from other people.
Yeah. You've got a strange setup with having the time capsule with its router and modem in it, and AT&T's modem, which I would bet.
Once I get it up and running, I would like to get rid of the original modem that Apple put in there, and just
you should be able to, because then you're just working back and forth to iCloud. So as long as you got a good internet connection, there's no reason you would need that, as far as I can see.
Yeah. So I think once I get back talking to him, I'll suggest that.
Yeah. Yeah, because the AT&T modem probably is newer and faster than the old time capsule.
They'll update it all the time, if necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, I was curious to see where you had gotten, and I thought it might help a few other people that are going through, they go through the same thing, getting a new computer.
Yeah.
So.
Now, one question Hokanson has, Kathy, is that got the new chip, the iMac that you have, or is
no.
Okay.
And I was thinking about waiting for that new one, but I thought I'm really anxious to have a new one, and this is hard enough to learn all this stuff without another thing.
Yeah, and the new one's not quite set yet. It's pretty good from what I'm hearing, but there's still a lot of programs that don't work on it yet.
But I have an iMac with a 27-inch screen, and that's going to be one of the later ones to get the new
Right.
chip. So I'd have to wait a pretty long time to get that.
Yeah, it may end up coming sooner than we think. There's a lot of rumors floating out there. Even they've got the latest one is the new iPad Pro is going to have the new chip in it. So that could be very interesting. You'd have an iPad that's 12 inches that's as strong as a laptop computer.
Jeff, on that same vein, iCloud, Dropbox, all these virtual storage device thingies out there in the ethersphere or whatever. What do I trust? What can I use? What are they all? Are they similar? Are they different? I mean, yeah, they'll charge you for some of them, but
yeah, well, you can
the view on that.
Yeah, well, I have OneDrive, which is Microsoft. I have Dropbox, which is my main one that I use. I have iCloud as well. I trust all of them. Most of them are encrypted and pretty safe. And I don't put anything on there that I don't trust. Dropbox costs me the most, but I have 3 terabytes of storage space on Dropbox, and that costs me $300 a year. But that gives me, it's nice because with Dropbox, I don't keep any of the stuff on my computers, and it frees up a lot of space that I didn't have available. So it's all sitting in the cloud, and each of my computers, my iPad and my phone can all access it. The same with the iCloud. My only problem with iCloud is I subscribe to the $2.99 a month, which gets me 200 gigabytes. But that's not a whole lot of space. It works fine for word processing and all that, and backups for all of my computers, but that's about it. OneDrive, I think you get 1 terabyte if you have the Microsoft Office package, and that's pretty nice. I wish for Apple to do that. I think it's like $40 or $50 a month. I can't remember what the price is for a large quantity on iCloud. So
that's what I'm just going to look for here.
The
as we're
nice part of OneDrive is with Office 365 family plan, which costs a little bit more. You actually get a terabyte for every person.
everybody,
So I think you can have up to 5 people, and they're all separate accounts and everything. So I have that. My wife has a terabyte. I have a terabyte. I used to use Google Drive. I used to use Dropbox. I use iCloud a little bit because I'm in such a Mac ecosystem that there's certain things that just work better that way. But predominantly, I use OneDrive.
I use OneDrive also for sharing. It's beautiful. You know, I can send a link to somebody and they don't have to sign in, create an account. At least I don't think they do. You know, it's free for the storage you've got. I guess it depends on what you want to do, though, too. You know, if you want to share photographs, you know, then you're talking about another kind of service. But if it's just documents, if you have access to OneDrive, I think it's hard to beat that.
Is OneDrive, this is a dumb question. Is it PC or Mac, or do I have to you know, are the
It's
cloud
in the cloud. It's in the cloud. It's
does,
system independent.
okay. Okay.
Well,
yeah, you need to have Microsoft 365 Office to get the OneDrive account.
Okay.
So you're
Which I
paying.
don't have. Yeah.
What is that? I
So-
think for a single person, it's
$10 a month.
Yeah, something like that. I pay yearly, so it's like $75 or $80 a month, and I think the family plan was like $100 or so a month.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
then
family,
you get all your
it's $100
software. It's always up to date too, so that's the advantage of that.
Yeah,
Families, it's $100 a year right now. Individuals, it's 70, and that's family. You get up to 6 people, and like I said,
Right.
a terabyte per person.
So I
Go on.
need to get Microsoft 360 then.
yeah.
Basically,
That's Yeah, that's getting you Microsoft Word off, the whole Office suite. That's the
Okay.
main reason that people get it, is to get the Word and, Excel, PowerPoint, and all that.
Okay.
So that's
So
why
Ellen, are you working on a PC or a Mac?
I work on a Mac. I'm Mac everything.
Okay, so if you're on Mac, I mean, 2 terabytes of iCloud is $99 a month, or about $120 a year for 2 terabyte, which is, a fairly sizable amount. And I don't know, is there limits on OneDrive? If you did get through the whole,
Right now,
you're paying
I've
for
got OneDrive family plan plus a terabyte. So the family members each get a terabyte plus. So I have 2. And from what I can see, I can't get any more than 2 terabytes out of them.
and you're paying what, Rick?
I pay $99 a year for the Office 365 with the OneDrive account, plus another like $10 or something it is for the additional terabyte of storage.
Okay.
It isn't terrible.
So, but on the going back, Ellen, going back to you, as Ian mentioned, if you're in the Mac EcoStruxure, iCloud just makes sense, because then everything is all synced together, whether it's contacts or calendar, or if you use it for a keychain for your passwords, all of that is all in there then, and you don't have to mess around with trying to do that from a third party.
Well, right. And the thing is, I would not be using any of the Microsoft products. So it would just be something more that's there because I don't really need them.
Right. Because if you're using Pages and Numbers in Keynote, then those all do just fine. And you can export them as a Microsoft document.
Yeah, they work well enough for my purposes. So maybe what I'll do is look at buying extra space in iCloud then, just to put it on the storage. I do have physical backup here too, but still in all, it's amazing how that stuff just accumulates, and all of a sudden you've got 20,000 photos. And I'm probably a lower photo user. So
right.
I have a quick question. I missed what Ian said he was using.
OneDrive. I'm
OneDrive.
also using OneDrive.
Does anyone have any experience with Amazon storage?
I use a real little bit. I don't use much of it.
I didn't like their interface, so I moved away from them pretty early on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Audrey, go ahead.
Question about basically back to Time Machine. I always back up to a external drive, and I understand you can back up to the cloud. What's it called in my brain?
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of programs. A lot of people use Backblaze. That's the one that I use to back up to the cloud, because it's
the Apple Cloud.
That
doesn't
you can
much storage.
Yeah. So I mean, what are you using for your pictures to work on your pictures?
I have a completely separate drive for that, a big one.
Okay. So anything else though with iCloud, you can set anything else in iCloud up to back up automatically, or again, whether it's contacts or your calendar, any of that.
Yeah, it's still pretty big.
Backing up your photos to iCloud would be a little harder, especially since a lot of us go over 1 terabyte.
Yeah.
So then I use Backblaze as my backup storage for my photos, because that's only $6 a month for unlimited storage for backing up. It's not as easy to access, but it's more for emergencies in case you happen to lose your hard drive. You've got everything up in the cloud. It's a lot slower to get it up there. It takes, the first time you use it, it can take months to get your archive put up there. But once you're caught up, it generally takes just days or weeks, depending on how much you shoot, to get it up to the cloud.
They even have a quick option. If you have a ton, they'll send you a hard drive in the mail.
Yeah,
What is that?
you could do a hard drive setup.
Because I'm trying to push. I'm trying to push a lot of data up to the Microsoft Cloud, and it's just taking forever to try to do that. Just 'cause my upload speed isn't that great.
Right.
That's the hassle.
Are you
Yeah.
saying- Okay, let me ask, because I'm confused by how fast this is growing. Are you saying you have your photos on a hard drive, but you also are sending them to Backblaze?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
That sounds safe.
Yeah.
But time consuming.
Yeah, what Backblaze does is it works in the background, and you tell it what hard drives it should back up to the cloud, and it just constantly is feeding a stream of data up to the cloud till it gets everything backed up. And so it's a hands-off thing. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to do anything. You subscribe. You tell it which hard drives you want to back up. And it's just another backup solution that's in the cloud, and it's completely encrypted, so nobody can get access to it except for yourself. And you can download it. There's apps so that you can download photos to your phone if you wanted, or to download it to your hard drive again. So it's a nice extra layer of backup for your photos that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, as some of these are costing.
For the time machine, as I said, I have it only on an external drive. Would Backblaze be used for a backup of that, or should I be sending it to iCloud as well?
Well, Time Machine is a backup in itself. So you wouldn't put that into Backblaze. You would just back up your computer hard drive and your photo archive, your photo drive, or any other drives that you have. Because for a backup, you need something about the same size or bigger than what you're going to back up. So
Audrey, I kind of have that set up. I have an external hard drive that most of my photos reside on that I edit off of. And then I have a second hard drive, which is my time machine. So that way, if I accidentally delete a file or my hard drive dies, I have quick access to get those files back because they're on Time Machine. I can get them back pretty quickly. But in addition to that, I have Backblaze also backing up that first hard drive that I mentioned, as well as my laptop. And that's in case my house burns down, flooding, whatever. I have something not physically here, because if somebody were to steal all these or power surge or something, it would wipe everything that I have here.
Yep, exactly. I have that same concern because both of the physical drives are here.
Yeah.
Here could go away.
I was going to comment.
Go ahead, Brian.
Backup. My emergency backup is in a safe deposit bank or safe deposit box at a local bank. So I have a passport drive, and about every 2 months or so, I just back up everything on my computer, everything. Put on that passport. It takes me about 5-6 hours, but then I just drive it over to the bank and put it in my safe deposit box at the bank. So that's my emergency backup.
That was initially my plan, and then I never did it. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this every 6 months. I'll take a new copy to my dad's in Illinois, and I bought a hard drive and everything, and I never used it. So
yeah, that's the trick, is to get into the habit of I do it the first of the month. I bring 6 hard drives from my house to work here, and I copy all my hard drives over to those 6 extra backups, and then take it back. And every now and then you forget to do it 1 month, or you get too busy. Yeah, I mean, I have multiple tiers of backups. So I have at work, I have one whole set of backups just in case of the power surge, like Ian talks about, and then I have the cloud backup, and then I have my separate house backup. So I actually back up a number of different ways, and I do a lot more at the end of the year where I take my best images and I back that up on a separate hard drive, just so I have my all-time favorite images for each year on a hard drive too, just in case I would lose everything. So I'm backup crazy because it's just so easy to lose this stuff.
Yeah, hard drives fail. I think that's something people don't realize until it happens to them.
Yeah.
But if they're pretty common, like if you have a hard drive 3-4 years old, it's getting towards its end of life most likely. It could go for another 4 years, absolutely, but you are, just running the risk. If you look at warranties and what they cover them, they don't cover them for that long typically. Even the NAS ones, the ones that are intended for longer storage, aren't that long. Same goes with even burning the DVDs and that type of stuff. Is over time they do degrade. So you gotta be careful of that stuff.
Or hard drives, it's not if, it's when.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. And even solid state drives, which can be a little worse because when they fail, there's no way to recover anything from a solid state drive. But at least they don't have moving parts, where the spinning hard drive, that's generally what fails if they get banged too hard or something happens. That's where it can be a problem.
So that means that I'm sitting here and I'm looking at 4 various hard drives because I have 2 separate computers, one a Mac, one a Windows, and it looks like I better wait for a sale at Costco.
Yeah.
Thank God I still got the cloud too. I got
Don't wait too long.
Yeah.
Got a question on antivirus software. I had it upgraded to the 27-inch Mac off my old Mac, which was 10 years old.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to me, my antivirus software wasn't working for a month or two. Put on an AGS product and just let me try it out, and scanned it and found a Trojan horse that was deep in the Safari files. I quarantined it and took it off. Question is, if it's gone, is there anything to worry about? I don't know how long it was there. I didn't look. And everything was running okay. And
you keep your operating system up to date, right?
Right.
Apple's operating system, their built-in security is pretty darn good. It should have taken care. I'm surprised that it found a Trojan horse in there.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like one of those browser cookie thing. Like sometimes they flag them as Trojans. They're like ad trackers, and they'll sometimes flag them as Trojans.
Trojan. Okay. I just didn't know on that. But my transfer went over pretty well with Time Machine, just to let people know when I went to the new 27.
Okay.
So, thanks. For the
that's the one nice thing with Apple is their security is pretty darn tight.
Right.
That's why their computers are a little more expensive, and that it's their software is so integrated into the system that it's hard to get viruses in. And I've checked with different virus programs and found I really don't need them. I hardly ever use them anymore. I don't know if anybody else with Apple does, but I don't. I find a little bit of malware but they've tightened up Safari so well that most of that stuff is pretty well kept at bay. As long as you keep updating your computer.
Yeah. I use a PC and I've been using Norton's antivirus. And it occasionally flashes a message that is stop this kind of probe or that. And I make sure it's updated, and I do a deep scan about once a month and stuff. And it doesn't find anything. I also, I don't, that's all.
Well, I got to admit, my one Windows computer today is flashing that it's found a virus in it, and it's trying to get rid of it. I don't know if it's managed to do it. It needs me to reboot that computer, and I'm using it. So, but I know which program it is, so I don't know if it's an actual virus or not. And I thought I'd gotten rid of it a couple days ago, but so something's attacking my Windows machine. But I'm just using it to monitor the Zoom feed. So if it goes,
I have the Norton, also the Norton 360, and I got 5 licenses with it, and I use it on some of my Windows, and I did put one on my Mac, but I was having a problem with an out of memory window that pops up every once in a while, and I've got almost everything closed. And I did some Google searches on it. It sounds like that's a virus that can run on your Macs. I don't know if anybody else has any problem with that.
Yeah, I haven't.
Okay.
My
But
Mac, I've
everything else
always,
seems to work okay.
yeah,
It doesn't crash or anything.
yeah, I know. It's a weird one on the HP. I'm not sure what it is. I got to delve into that one a little more, but yeah, I haven't gotten anything on my Windows.
If you ever call Apple support, they will use Malwarebytes as one of the programs they'll ask you to look, see if there's any viruses on your computer. They don't specifically say you should have it because they don't endorse those products, but that's the one that I've had several techs tell me to use.
Malwarebytes is not a virus software, though. I have it on my machine. It removes malware, but it doesn't remove viruses.
There is another one that I've used called ClamXAV, which does all the viruses and is constantly updated. And that wasn't real expensive per year. I want to say it's like $20 a year or something like that. And that's constantly updated.
It needs to be updated all the time, because if it's not, some virus is going to get through. So, but yeah, I've used Malwarebytes. I used to have it on this computer, my Apple computer here, and not the paid one, just the free version that lets you scan whenever you think you might have a problem. And they're trying to get me to buy a subscription, but I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, they all raised their prices. I stopped using Norton quite a few years ago because every year it went up so much and I was paying so much. I went to a free one, Avast, for a while, and then they started charging, and now I've had them, and my son's using another free one. I will check to see what it is, but Avast keeps popping up windows for you to buy add-ons all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I had the same thing. I experienced it with Avast too.
Yeah,
every other day you've got another ad.
Yeah, and I bought into one of theirs to update drivers and fix things on your computer, and I ended up regretting buying it because it was I'm going to uninstall it because it was interfering with some of my workings with the drivers and stuff when it couldn't find them, and stuff that didn't matter.
I clean my Mac on my Mac to keep it clean of a lot of different things, and it does have a simple virus and malware thing built into it, but sometimes that in itself triggers the Apple virus stuff. But it works well, and I actually have it on my my PC computer as well too. They have a Clean My PC, and it does a lot of things simply. It cleans up a lot of stuff, and I found it works pretty well, and it's not a huge subscription. And once you buy it, you're paying yearly for it, but it doesn't run ads or anything like that, which I wouldn't put up with ads from any virus company.
Their ads are ads for their own software. That you click on things to check for viruses, and it'll say, "Oh, we found this, but we also found you need to clean this up." And so their ads consists of selling their own product or their own add-ons.
Yeah.
I've been using CC Cleaner for years, the free version, and I run that at least once a month, and it finds all of these dead end things from the registry that it cleans up. And I've not had any problems with it for all these years.
Oh, that's good.
There's a free and a paid version. I just use the free version all the time.
Yeah.
I have a subscription to something called Mac Keeper, and I think that's what it's called. I don't pay attention to some of this stuff anymore.
That's the name. That was the name. I dumped it after 6 months, but that was me.
The Mac Keeper?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's got some sort of virus protection, but it looks for duplicate files and gets rid of some of that stuff too. So I haven't had any problem with it, but then again, sometimes I don't pay a lot of attention to some of these things until it just keeps, it's time to clean your Mac and I'm going, yeah, okay, later, which is the way I operate anyway. So for everything.
No, that's sort of why I like the Clean My Mac or Clean My PC. Once a month it pops up and says it's time to clean it, and it gets rid of all the foreign files. So I don't need, Spanish and German files for a program. Right. So it gets rid of all that stuff, which is sort of nice and frees up a little extra space. Plus, it does run a lot of the maintenance programs if you need it to run a maintenance program. It was recommended highly a number of years ago, and I still use it today. And like I said, I even run it on my PC, and I've got to probably need to run that so that I can get rid of that virus that's running in that one. But I found it to be a nice program.
Jeff, what's the name of the one you have been using?
It's called Clean My Mac.
Okay.
And it's more to get rid of all the junk or help you get rid of programs you don't want anymore or leftover pieces of programs that might be in there. It does a lot. It's just a basic utility, and it works pretty well for that.
Okay.
So at least I've had good luck with it. I don't run a whole lot of different programs anymore. Between that and for the Mac, Tech Tool Pros is another utility I use to keep the Mac running right. But that's about all I end up doing. So anybody else have questions? Brian, you're muted if you're talking to us.
I hit the space bar. I guess that doesn't work.
It's been working on and off for me. I stopped using it, and I'm just using my mouse.
Well, my question was, what did people get for Christmas? Any fun toys, any fun technology that people like to share with us?
Got an 8mm fisheye lens for my Olympus. That should be fun.
Yeah, that should be.
Jeff, you may want to remind everybody. Well, you may want to remind everybody else to use Q&A if they do have questions from those that aren't on the panel.
Please, people. Yet. I mean, we do have 29 of you out there. If you've got a question, please put it in the question and answer section, because right now I got no open questions. So we're making this up as we go.
I've been using the chat, Jeff. There's a few notes in the chat.
Okay.
Nothing is going on in the
Q&A. Nothing's going on in Q&A. Maybe if I move the chat over, I can see.
I was just going to say, I got a motion detective soap dispenser for washing my hands. That's my piece of technology.
I bought ahead of time. I got the 70 to 350 for the Sony crop sensor telephoto lens. I got that, I don't know, a couple weeks ago when the sales were going on. So that's it was like an early Christmas present to myself.
I saw that on one of your Facebook things that you also, but you also tested the, was it the Tamlin or the
Sigma
100, 400?
Sigma 100 to 400 was the first one that I rented. I rented the 70 to 350 Sony also. So I rented both of them. I didn't rent them at the same time. I rent them almost back to back. The Sigma is really nice, but it's a tank compared to the Sony because it's made for full frame. I shoot with a Sony A6600, so it's a crop sensor. So it has a lot of extra glass that was kind of going to waste on me. The lens was so long that I couldn't put it into my camera bag while attached to the body. So it was cumbersome in that regard. So again, the Sony one, much smaller, much more compact, lighter, easier to, manipulate. Little shorter, 350 versus 400. But when you're out that far, I end up taking the lenses to similar places to get comparisons. The 50 millimeter difference wasn't very noticeable. So I'm really happy with the Sony one. The Sigma is great though. If you're looking, especially if you have a full frame, the Sigma is a really nice lens also. Prices was about the same.
I'm looking at it either matching up with the D500 on the Nikon or the Z7. I haven't decided, but I think I'm going to rent it from I think it's called Lens Rental, and wait for the racing season, which is my game. So see what I got. I know I heard very good things about the Sigma. What was it? The 200, 600. Now both Road America track photographers are running that, and actually it's almost their go-to lens period when they're on the track. But that's the thing I go with. I'm going after.
Yeah, you mentioned Lens Rental. Lens Rental is who I use. I rent almost every lens before I buy it. It's come in handy where I could do comparisons like what I just did, or like I've rented a fisheye in the past, and then like it was fun to play with, but it wasn't really for me at the time, so I didn't end up buying one. But that's pretty much what I always do is I give them a run through there, play with them for a week, and then decide what I want to do.
Yeah. We got Peter Chow got a 11 millimeter 2.8 for the Nikon Z for only $215, a TT Artisans. Be curious to see, that's a full frame for the Nikon Z camera. So I'll be curious to hear how good that lens turns out to be.
11 millimeters, huh?
Yeah.
11 2.8.
Yeah, not bad. Jerry Klisch got a Olympus 300 millimeter f4 Pro lens.
Someone's asking about a PC camera. I wanted to mention that I was having trouble last meeting we had with my camera flickering and going bad. I had bought a cheap camera on Amazon, and this camera that I have here is the new one that you recommended, Jeffrey, I believe. It's the Logitech 900 and something.
Okay, maybe the 920 or something.
Yeah, I believe it's in the 920, but it still looks to me, I don't know if it looks to you guys, but the dynamic range on it seems to be a little off. The highlights are out. So on Zoom, I don't see any way to adjust it. It has its own little program.
You may be able to adjust it on the app. Did you?
I did.
You might fool with that, or you're on an Apple computer
I'm
or
on
PC?
Windows.
Okay. I don't know as much. There might be a different app that you could use to try adjusting it more. I know I have a Brio coming from my other computer that I have at home because I wasn't happy with the quality I'm getting out of the one camera I have. And we'll see how that works. That's a 4K camera and should give you a little better quality than what I was getting off of the laptop. But now you're getting darker. It could just be that you might need to light the room a little more or get some more light on the other side of your face.
Yeah,
you got a bright window.
Yeah.
Or get that window turned down a little bit more. But you do look a little magenta in color too from the lighting.
Yeah, I opened the program that came with Logitech, and I'm able to make adjustments. On the old camera, I couldn't open. I mean, the old camera I had, I couldn't open the Windows program for a camera at the same time that I had it in use in Zoom.
Okay.
But apparently, Logitech you can.
Yeah.
But I don't recommend buying one. I mean, there's a whole bunch of little $30 and $40 cameras on Amazon that you know, hundreds of them, and I picked one, and it lasted a couple months.
Yeah, if you can get a Logitech camera, B&H and Adorama are finally getting them all in stock again. The 920 Logitech, I think, is around $100, $75 to $100, and it isn't too bad. So that's one that I would recommend. If you've got a few more dollars, I just bought, and I'll show it probably next month, maybe, is the Brio. Or you'll see it probably at our camera club, Menominee Falls Camera Club meeting. I'll probably use that one. And that's a 4K camera that lets me zoom in and out a little bit more. But it's $200. I don't know how the microphone is in it. For me, my setup's a little fancier because I do video recording. So I've got a expensive Sennheiser microphone going into a Mix Pre that's about $700, and then that goes into my Nikon Z6. So you don't have to go that crazy. For a microphone, I talked about it a few months ago in the Digital Forum newsletter. There's a Pile microphone for $15 using a TechRise USB adapter to get it into the computer. So for about $30, you can get a good microphone that will get you good sound, and it's a little headset mic. So that works well. For me, the headset mics, I run into a problem that my head's a little too big and they don't fit decently around my ears. So I haven't been using that. The other is I have used a VDO, 1C VDO video camera for about $75 from B&H. So that would be the other thing that you could use. But so that would be something else that you could use. Got a question from somebody on neutral density filters from Sheldon Shaw. I don't know what everybody else uses. I use, and now the name is B&W is the one brand of neutral density filters. I have a 3X, a 6X, and a 10X. Plus, I use another one, a square filter, and I forgot what it is. Anybody else use different?
One of the more common ones.
Yeah.
I have good luck with Hoya.
Okay, Brian, you use Hoya. Ken, you're using what? You've got that variable that you use, right?
Yeah, that's a Stingray, and it's a variable neutral density. I think it goes up to 8, and it also has well, the neutral density works through polarization, but it also has a polarizer on it also, and it works pretty good at the lower neutral densities. The more wider angle you go, the more difficult it is. And I know, Jeff, you had one and you had X's showing up in your photos.
Yeah, I always seem to use them to their extreme. And I had the Stingray one that I had gotten from somebody. And it works fine in a lot of areas, but if you get to the extreme ends of them, then you tend to get this big X in the middle. Especially on my D850, which was the high megapixel camera, it tended to pick it up more than other cameras. So I've gone with just the straight neutral densities. And so most of the time with my mirrorless cameras, I use the B&H, or not B&H, B&W high quality neutral densities, and I go up to the 10 stop one, and I'm looking to get a 15 stop one next for really long exposures. Plus I also use some of the glass square ones, which work pretty well. And I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. I don't know why.
Is that the Koken system?
No, it's better than Koken. They weren't cheap.
Is it the Lee filters?
Yeah, the Lee filters. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's what
they're
it
not
is.
cheap, but they're very good.
Yeah, and they go all the way up to 15 stop now. So that 15 stop filter is my next purchase. If I ever start to get out. But I love the 10 stop one. You can do 1 minute exposures during the middle of the day pretty well. And it creates some interesting effects. Works great with water, but also works great for streaking the clouds.
On that Lee filter, can you use that in the Koken system, or you have to buy a totally different
You need the Lee holder that they make, but it's a lot better holder than the Koken plastic system was. So it's definitely worth the investment, especially if you're not using mirrorless. With mirrorless, it's a little different because with mirrorless, you can actually see through all these filters and compose, where with an SLR, you were stuck with, you'd have to unscrew the filter, compose, put the filter back on to take the picture. And then if you moved anything, you'd have to redo all that. With the square filters, you can just slide them in and out. So it works a little quicker. And I never had good luck on the variables.
So this is the Lee holder?
Yeah.
So it's metal construction for the holder part, and then there's this rubber gasket. You put this on your lens and you screw it in to make it tight. And then here there are two slots to slide in the large square filters. So what's nice about this is you could just unscrew this, pop this right off your lens, and then focus normally, and then put it right back on in 1 second. So it's not like the screw-on filters where once you screw it on, it's a pain in the ass to unscrew it to focus again. So I've been using this for the long exposures that I've been doing recently, and it's great.
So here's a question. When you're using your mirrorless camera, Jeff, can you see through the 10 stop filter to focus?
Yeah. Yep, you can. And that's one of the reasons why I'm starting to go more to
going back to circle?
Back more to mirrorless than my SLR.
You got the Z6.
Yep, I got the Z6, and I'm hoping to get the Z7 sometime in, it's probably spring before we start going out to shoot again.
Yep.
Actually, the Z7 II, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So with
mirrorless,
mine, I've got the D850, and I can see through the 6-stop filter pretty easily.
Yeah.
I put it in live view, but the 10-stop is just too much.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the mirrorless for some reason has a lot stronger view, and I've been able to see through the 10-stop even. I mean, it's not real bright, of course, but you can see through it, and the camera can focus through it, which is nice. So
on that, the D850 will focus through the 10-stop if it's a bright subject.
Yeah.
So that's kind of useful.
Yeah.
But the catch is you have to be live view to do all that. Right.
Yeah. So it's making me switch over, partially from doing night shots. The mirrorless seem to work a lot better for night photography and for the long exposure photography. So that's the two reasons. And I like the lightweight. I'm getting to the point now where some of these cameras are getting too heavy for me. So slowly going to make that switch over, but it'll take a while.
I got something for Christmas that was pretty neat for shooting outside. I got a pair of mittens with inserts from the Heat Company gloves, and they're really, really warm. You put an insert in them, and you open them up, and your fingers come through, and they got a regular glove that goes inside a mitten, and both of them have slots where you can put the hand warmers in there. And
wow.
They're pretty expensive, but they're pretty slick. They have magnetics that you fold it back, and your fingers come out of the glove, and they got an insert that you can put on the inside the glove, and they have where you can use your camera with it. And I walked with them yesterday, and they're really warm. And I didn't put any of the hand warmers in either one.
Yeah, that's great.
What name are those? Because I have a dog I have to walk for about 3 hours worth every day.
They're from a company called the Heat Company.
Heat?
The Heat Company, yes. And they come in, they have the inserts, which are regular gloves. They have a mitten like this, and then they have another mitten that goes over. You could take these to the Antarctic.
Okay.
They warm in the Antarctic. But I don't have the third shell. I just have the two. And they're really warm because I do a lot of walking and a lot of photography in the winter. And I'm anxious to see how they really work. The thumb folds back so it's all magnetic. You can fold the thumb back. Your thumb and your finger can come out, and you're good to go.
Unfortunately, when you're walking a dog, every once in a while you have to use the little auxiliary bags in your pocket, and we won't go any further.
Well, that's where you fold this back, I think.
Yeah.
And you're good to go and pick it up then.
Yep.
Interesting.
Pardon me?
Where did you buy those gloves? Where did you buy them?
I went online and went right to the Heat Company. And they're made in Austria, and they got a distributor in the United States. And it came to my house in 2 days.
Wow.
Just,
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're at 11 o'clock. So let's, I'll start talking about Luminar AI. Let me get that thing started. And I'm going to try a new way. Oh, that's going to work. Just in case. All right, let me get my desk cleaned up here a little bit so everybody can see this. Looks like you can see it. Whoops, wrong button. Okay, so this is the new Luminar AI. Now I've got must have been, I was playing with this the other day. I'm still relatively new at it. Okay.
Jeff, you might want to hide your floating panel up on top there.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find that. I've got a couple of ways to do that, and here, let's try that. That gets me to what I need because I want to get to my catalog. So you've got, with Luminar AI, you've got a catalog function. You can also use it just to look at different areas, different photos without going to a catalog. Let's see if I go to all photos, oh, that's right. I only brought in, so I want to go to, let's see if I did. Yeah, I had only brought in this one catalog. You can add more folders with images by clicking on the plus sign and then going and adding in other folders, or you could catalog the whole thing. So then you've got it here, and you could see how fast it just brought in another set of images. I can edit single images if I want. I can look at all the photos, and I've got it sorted them by years here. So you've got a lot that you can do. It works a lot like Luminar 4, but when it comes to the editing part, you have a lot more things that you can do. Let me just take something that's, we'll use this one. It does take a second to generate a good full screen preview. So, and then you've got edit here, and you've got also templates that you can look at. So say you wanted to use the templates, you can pick different collections that they have. So here's like Frosty and City Thrills, convert it to black and white, Electric City, Street Theater. So they have a lot of different templates that you can work with.
So the templates are a good starting point. And then you can go in and edit any of those templates to your liking after you enable it. So it's not stuck to just that look once you do it.
Right. So like here's simulating, sunset type shots. But yeah, it does get you started. I believe this, let's see that. Then you can go to, come on, get away. You've got edit here where you can then crop if you want. And so you've got cropping capabilities. Oh, I must have had something because it threw in clouds.
Well, so right.
Or no, that did it in the template, didn't it?
Right, exactly. So as you look down that list, like next to enhance, there's a little dot, structures, little dot. Any of those that have the dot next to them in the list down below there are the items that don't go back to that edit.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So here you've got the dots.
Right. So anything that has a dot is what it is part of that template, but there's where you can go in and use those particular settings and then tweak them within there. So in enhance, you can use the sliders to change what they did as their default for that template.
And then, of course, you can reset here. That should be, I believe,
that's masking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really capable of doing some very localized masking. It's pretty cool that way. And that'll turn it on and off.
Yeah, and that turns it on and off.
And when you do those, you recommend that you make a copy of the photo because you're changing that file, right?
This is all non-destructive.
Oh, it is non-destructive.
So
the way Luminar works is it's basically making a clone of your catalog. It's not actually working off of your original catalog because it's your source files really are never touched using Luminar.
Yeah. So I'm working off a separate catalog from my main catalog so that I don't mess them up. But you can use Luminar AI with
Lightroom.
with Lightroom. So it does let you do that. But you can see that it added, with the template that I use, it added clouds. Even through the light here, it managed to add the clouds through the light and through little openings. So the amount that it can do is rather amazing. And again, like, yeah, I didn't catch that the little dots were what had been done. I've only played with this since they brought it out.
I've watched a whole bunch of videos on it.
Yeah, and I haven't had the chance to watch the videos. I've been working on too many other things. But you have your essentials edit here. You have your creative edit here. And I believe this would be where you can even change the sky. If you wanted to go to a different sky, you could.
You can load your own custom ones in there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then again, the question being, keeping in the back of my mind, that would be good for color and for black and white if you submit to PSA and whatever you guys catch up in the WACO regulations. But you do have to be careful.
You couldn't enter these in PSA unless you do your own sky, your own cloud photo.
Even cloud or even color in black and white?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, you could do a conversion from color to black and white. That's fine. But PSA rules state that everything that you add to a photo has to be your own.
Okay.
So any skies that you can't add, the stock skies that come with Luminar AI, if you're entering PSA competitions, they have to be your own skies.
So Jeff, show them that again. Show them like where the sky is at the bottom of that drop down, where you can add. I'm sorry, where it says Sunset 2 up on top there. In that drop down box.
Yeah. Right here, right?
Yeah.
So if you hit load skies, now this will take me a second, but I can do this because I've got my skies in here.
So this is where Jeff is referring to using your own skies then instead of using the stock. Then it becomes your composite of your images.
Yep.
Yeah, let's use that one. It's not, doesn't work the greatest for this image, but the one thing that Luminar does that's better than Photoshop, I will admit, is getting the detail inside all this stuff. And especially through glass and some of this area, their algorithms are better than what Photoshop can do. But yes, the only thing that I don't know why, but you can only load one image at a time. Now, Marty, do you know if it will store those skies away?
I don't think it does. I think you need to go back to your collection each time to bring that sky in.
That's what I found, but I wasn't sure if maybe I missed something in there. So I wish they'd let you load them in.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just keep it as part of that collection. Like you can create your own, you can create your own templates. You can create your own looks in Luminar 4. And I wish you're right. I wish they could do that here, but they don't.
Yeah, because that's where I like Photoshop, where you can actually load them in and they keep it in there. So that's the one thing to remember, is that if you're entering competitions, generally the stuff is going to have to be that they're your own product and not one from these programs. And it's going to get to the point that, and I mean, they have quite a few skies available here. And I would imagine that there are more that you'll be able to, well, here you can actually, I think, load in custom skies, which I don't have anything loaded up right now other than this one, but I would bet there's a way to add more of them to it. Yeah, actually, it does. When you click that, it does bring open a box on my other window that would let me load in more skies. So undoubtedly, Luminar is going to bring in more skies. But that's not all.
They actually have a marketplace where you can go in and buy all kinds of them.
Right. Right.
And there are some free downloads in there too, but from what they loaded in stock, yeah, that's what you have. But you can certainly add more into their collection, but I don't know how you can add your own into that same collection. I wish you would do that. You're right.
I think they're going to have, I bet you we'll find out a way, and I was going to search for it, that because everybody else is, if you can buy these skies, then there must be a way for you to package it to do the same thing.
You have to put them into a specific folder inside of the Luminar AI. If you go in there to, if you hit sky selection and hit show custom skies, it opens up the folder where it has to be. If you load that folder up with your skies, then they'll be in the drop down.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Great.
I'll have to look at that too. And it probably works the same way in Luminar 4 then, I'm guessing.
No, in Luminar 4, there was a hack where you kind of did that, and then when you would reload Luminar 4, you had to put it into the folder that it was keeping the skies, which was, I think, in a hidden folder inside of Luminar. But, you know, once people figured out how to do that, I think the people at Luminar just said, okay, well, people are doing it, so let's make it easier for them.
That makes sense, because when I click that, I do get it. I just can't show it because I'm full screen on Luminar AI, but I do have on my smaller screen that Finder window that says custom, and I'll have to try moving some images in there and see how that works. So that's great. Thanks, Randy. That's what this group's about, is to figure out all this stuff in a shorter period of time.
There's so much to all these programs. None of us can know everything about them, that's for sure.
No, and I've just scratched the surface with it, but I wanted to bring it out to show everybody. Now, the other part that's sort of interesting, they've got an augmented sky, and this is what's really driving me nuts, is you can add now birds to it. And here they just, and I mean, this shot with the lighthouse almost works perfect with these birds, because you always get birds flying around a lighthouse going for stuff. I just clicked on that. I can adjust it. I've got the amount of birds.
Well, it's the opacity of them, right? And you
the
you can move
opacity
them around.
of it.
If you did place object, you can move them around in the sky a little bit.
Yep. So if I hit that, you could see the square, so I can move it up and down. I looks like I can probably
make them bigger.
Make it just a smaller, bigger or smaller. You can adjust the warmth. You can relight them. You got some advanced settings to refine the mask and to defocus them. You can even flip them. But besides birds, you got a hot air balloon. If you had a halfway decent night scene, you can add an aurora.
You can add the space shuttle too.
Yeah.
How about fireworks?
A space shuttle. That sounds pretty good to me.
Off the coast, the launch off the coast of Lake Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's getting to the point, you can add a planet, and some of this stuff, it's rather amazing what you can do.
Wow.
Boy, that plane's going to get a wet landing.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you rotate if you go back to the space, or can you back to the spaceship? Can you rotate that so it looks like it's streaking past?
What, going in downward?
No, not downward, just.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can rotate it. You can do quite a bit. I would imagine there's probably a way to get rid of those base clouds that you can shrink the size.
Just move it to the left side.
Yeah, you could
actually,
just.
there's the masking tool, Jeff. You could probably take that fire out there. Yeah.
There we go. Well, with the airplane, that reminds me of the Airplane and Airplane 2, or, that movie.
I was just going to say that masking tool should get those clouds out. It's sort of like with those birds. I think I've seen them demonstrate that if you don't want a whole, bunch of birds, you can mask out a whole
Right. So using the erase, there you go, Jeff.
group of them. So you should be able to get that out.
Looks like it's a little tricky to use because when you hit it, it's doing a mask, so it sort of gets rid of it. But yeah, you can actually then do that, and then it looks like you're
flying right by.
Now you're getting into the there's 2 German PSA competitions, and one of them used to have a creative that was really interesting what was being done for that particular category.
Yeah. So
planet,
the only
all kinds of
problem is with the creative, it has to be your own stuff. So even in PSA.
Killjoy.
Yeah, I know. Hey, that's all right. I have a shot of the shuttle. I don't have the clouds, but I could certainly do the clouds. So, but so there's a lot of stuff, and with the ability of this AI Luminar, it's getting really going to be even harder to tell.
For the judges,
what's real and what isn't. And I'm not sure how in the world we're going to ever figure out what to do in competitions. I have no idea how PSA is going to figure it out. But other than knowing that you probably wouldn't see a rainbow going this way with the way the lighting's coming from, but you're going to have to start doing all sorts of, thinking on how it should be. But somebody that knows how to place stuff right, this program is making it very easy to add a lot of different things. Should we put some mountains in the water?
The only thing, when I was thinking, and you and I have been discussing this off and on, Jeff, the only thing I can think of is that everything from an HI or HM, when you get in PSA, you get a certain level, and all those pictures, then the competition will go back to you and say, okay, we want to see your original file.
Yeah.
That would be the only way that I can think of, and that gets tedious.
Yeah, that would get to be, it's going to be a trick. I know we're talking about it in competition committee quite a bit. And after we got done, then this program came out, and I commented that, well, this just threw away all the different ways that I had to know whether this was added or not. I mean, you got this mountain, they placed it right at the horizon line just right. I mean, it blends in just perfect that it could almost be there. It does look a little strange that you got water going right up to the mountain, but it does. I mean, the amount that it gets rid of all the stuff in between all this grid work so perfectly is really amazing. So it's
that was a really good sample picture for it, Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah.
They may have to, people may have to submit the original photo along with the one they want judged.
Yeah, we may end up having to do something like that, because I'm curious now if I can get this moved.
Well, there was a case where the very first group of pictures I judged, it was a PJ competition with jets flying over the cadets at the Naval Academy, and it turned out to be a fake that they found. The guy, it was a composite, because that particular person could never have gotten clearance to be where that picture was taken, but you had to go into it that deep to find out that it was somebody cheating.
Yeah. So, so this has really changed what you can do. let's see if I can.
We're essentially creating our own picture.
Yep. Now, for me, I will always use my own stuff for my own artwork, but you look at this where it's clearing out the glass and all the detail in here is just amazing. If you did the right kind of landscape, you could add this mountain and light it the right way.
You wouldn't
and never know. It's getting that good. And I haven't even touched the refine mask or to defocus it. It's just, this is all what it could do on its own. So again, I'm not sure. You can load your own custom images, but you're going to have to do a lot of tweaking in Photoshop to get those images to look right, to be able to drop in. Because of course, like a mountain, you got to get rid of the sky and everything else. But they've got lightning that's looking pretty darn good. And even fireworks. So it's going to get to the point where it's sort of hard to tell what's going to be real and not. This is one that I sort of liked. You can add your eagle.
Damn, I hope that thing doesn't fly over me.
Yeah, it's a pretty big eagle.
Yeah.
So let me point one thing out, Jeff. So in Luminar 4, they have layers, and Luminar AI, there is no layers. So it used to be in Luminar 4, when you use these objects, you can add multiple objects into one image. I haven't figured out a way yet to do that in AI, where you can have like the balloon and the eagle and have several things in there at once.
Yeah, it looks like so far that they've only got, just the one. You can only do one at a time.
Right. Where in 4, you can just create a new image layer and then add another element in. So there's been, I mean, it's a really cool program, but there's been some limitations like that I've been finding that's been kind of frustrating. And that's not to say they won't change that in the future.
Yeah, I would think, because right now you're looking at that I had added a sky layer. My sky is still there, but the augmented sky then is on top of it. Right. So if they can do that so far, I would imagine that they'll start adding where you can maybe add multiples of this or multiples. Right. Well, you wouldn't want to do that much in skies. But then you do have atmosphere that you can add. How about if we add some layered fog? Let's see, we got to turn it up. And so this one takes, I can tell, a lot of playing around with, but you've got layered fog or you've got mist. To me, it wasn't quite as good as I've used sometimes the fog in Nik filters that sort of does what this is doing. But you got that capability as well. And you can, of course, turn it on and off or even reset it.
But that really reminds you early fall when you have a fog close to the earth and then the sunrise up above it.
I got to admit, I've used this one a few times on some of my own photos. I love the sun rays one. And to me, like even doing it in a lighthouse.
Right. I've done a couple pictures like that. Yeah. Lanterns. Yeah.
Yeah. And that always is sort of a nice look. I've done it on some sunsets where I thought it'd be nice to get a few beams showing. So, that's a nice one to be able to use. And that's in Luminar 4 as well.
Correct.
Dramatic, I'm not sure, that just really crunches the image up with a lot of contrast.
Yeah, it desaturates it quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah,
don't
and
like
actually-
saturation, Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah. This one isn't for me.
Yeah. Do they
Unless
have
I
a setting
take,
for the way you like to highlight your
sure.
photos?
Yeah, here it's more like that, and no. So,
So
yeah.
Marty, why would I want this over Luminar 4 that I mean, I have both, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm
Yeah,
not.
and I've got both now, but I'll tell you, I'm thinking that other than the like the templates built, like if you're new to photo editing and are really struggling with learning how to really edit a picture well, the templates really help a good starting position. But most of this you could do in Luminar 4. It just takes a little bit more work. They're just automating the process on a lot of this.
So I may not install this then.
What was that, Carl?
Yeah.
Making it more saleable.
Yeah, I mean, to a broader audience.
Yep.
You know, if you've been using Luminar, whether it was, you know, starting back, you know, in Luminar 3 or 4, or even before that, up until now, they've kept a fairly similar user interface, and they have with AI too, but it just adds in, again, for the novice photo editor, really a good starting point, a good way to get going and come up with good results fast.
Yeah, this one doesn't take as much education to learn how to do it, and you could just, you know, get a good image just with a couple of clicks and not have to do a lot of adjustments. So for somebody that wants to get something quick and easy, Luminar AI is going to be it. I bought it only because I wanted to see how it worked and be able to show other people in case they needed to do it. But I'll probably keep using Luminar 4 for what I use. I'm not sure. I think
and
right
I'm in
now they've
agreement
got
with
both
that,
out.
Jeff. Yeah, well, I'm in agreement with that. And there's actually some tools I use in 4 that are not available here in AI.
Right.
Which I was really a little disappointed with. So.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yeah.
I see that your file name is Door County numbers and .nef.
Yep.
What is the NEF?
That's the Nikon RAW file.
Oh,
format.
Okay. It's not the name. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So, and you've got your essentials, you got your creative, you do have a portrait section where you can work on face, skin, the body, and that. And then they do have a pro section that lets you adjust the optics, contrast, color harmony, dodge and burn, clone and stamp tool. So they have quite a bit of what 4 has. I mean, it's laid out a lot like 4, but I don't think it's meant to replace 4 yet. I wouldn't be surprised later on that it will possibly replace 4. But
I would agree with that. One thing you didn't talk about is kind of under where it says Pro, go down a little bit where that little marker thing is. So that's your local masking tool. And so if you go up where it says add, and then you can add a mask, and then it gives you different things you can do, add basic masking. And then if you did the drop down, you can actually choose different things you can do there. And then the other one, when you did that ad, was adding in gradients and stuff, or textures rather. So here, yeah, so you can see there, you can do a radial mask, you can do a gradient mask, and just a normal paint mask. So all that's kind of nested together. So the gradient mask, which is a tool I use in 4 a lot, they've moved it to here and they've kind of buried it, and it's it doesn't quite work the same, but it's not bad overall.
yeah, I can see it sort of. It's something that you'd. Yeah, it is sort of buried. Although, isn't it? Okay, so you've got all your basic adjustments here for
And
the
you can-
gradient mask.
You can invert it by hitting those 3 dots on the side.
Okay.
Yeah. There
Yeah,
you can
fill,
invert it.
clear it.
And you can show the mask itself. So you can see exactly what's being masked.
Yeah.
And then you can actually, like I say, invert it or rotate it. You can actually do it at different angles. So it's a very capable masking tool, but like all the tools in here, you just got to kind of get in and play with them and learn them.
Right. So now I noticed
I
that.
can see this possibly being used for a marketing person, maybe taking a picture of a building or a product or something, and then altering it very quickly. Than rather trying to go in and do full scale editing
in Photoshop. Yeah.
Now, Marty, it looks like that if I'm back into the essentials section, if you go into the mask here, you've got this 3.
Exactly. You got the same tools. So you could do local masking. So it's either local or globally. So you can do it both ways, but if you do it in here, you're only going to affect what enhance affects. Where if you did, the main one down there, you're going to globally affect the whole picture.
Yeah, you got the full range of stuff. So
right. So it does it a little bit both ways there, and that's why.
Yeah. Which it's nice that they have it in both sections. So yeah, if you wanted just to do an enhancement, I can bring that down and adjust the sky enhancement if I wanted to, and
right. And again, you can brush in and out too. If there was an area you didn't want it to affect, let's say that you wanted to enhance the sky to the right of the lighthouse, you can.
Right.
It'd be under the actually go to the left there. It'd be under the brush mask then, or the paint.
Yeah. So we'd go here, right, and then.
Right, then you can paint in or paint out the area that you didn't want.
So I could get rid of, like, if I didn't want this done. And I'm just holding, you can switch from the plus to minus by holding the option key down, or option, or it's option on both.
It's on both, yeah.
So you do have, you can paint in and out wherever you want.
And again, when you're using each individual element like this, you're only affecting that specific element, not globally.
Right. Now, is there a way to get that mask to go away so you can see what you did?
Yeah, go back into the 3 dots. Oop.
Oh.
And then just hide mask.
Oh, hide the mask.
Basically,
Okay.
you're using your / key to do that.
Yeah. So, and then to turn it on and off, you could see the slight difference. Does take a while for it to turn on and off.
Yeah, there's a slight delay there. It's got to render the information. And then straight up above, Jeff, or next to the left where it says 17%, is where you can do your before and afters, or your either that way, or the slider will do just that, the sliding view of the before and after to the left of that. There you go. They really kind of hide them up there.
Yeah. Yeah, this part's nice because you could see what we started with and added quite a bit. And most of it doesn't look all that bad considering what we've done, and I'm just playing around.
Right.
That's the part that AI is a little nice
Scary.
for the beginner to get them started and get success relatively quickly on.
Right. But it really is scary how well it does some things right out of the box, so to speak.
Yep. That's what I was impressed with when I played with it, and I thought, oh, this is going to change how we have to do competitions, because somebody's going to come into this and they can do all sorts of stuff to it. No, it's great for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing to be able to get a decent image right off the bat. It's not great that they'll be using canned skies and everything else that.
Right. But I still go back to, and I agree that you shouldn't, if you're going to use them in competition, it should be all your images and things. But I remember working in the darkroom years and years ago, adding effects in the enlarger, adding stars or hearts or things like that.
Right.
So, it's nothing new in photography. It's just the way it's so much of it's just so easy now,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I used to do this and more in my dark room. I used to paste, new skies in and add things to images, take stuff out by painting on the negative to get rid of things. So
stacking negatives.
Yep. Yep. So all of that is something that we used to do, but now it's made it so that more people will be able to do it easier.
Right.
Which is what's a little scary about it.
Jeff, can you play with the composition one for a minute?
Sure.
The auto composition, that just freaks me out.
And so what Luminar did here is it's analyzing. Well, they first of all to achieve AI, they've analyzed tens of thousands of images, and by computer learning, they've learned, okay, this is what would look good. Again, because you didn't want to clip the bird's wing, obviously you'd move that up a little bit, so you didn't do that. But it's taking the image and saying, okay, we think this is the best, but they're not limiting that to you.
Yeah, yeah, because they're putting the top part of the lighthouse in the upper third. And
it's probably analyzing your original image and not what you've added to it.
And that could be, yeah.
Yeah, that could be.
And is that for the perspective? Is that like in Lightroom it had the auto whatever and it straightened all your buildings?
Yes, and it works better than Lightroom.
Does it? Because
Lightroom, I always have to go and tweak it like 1 or 2% on the vertical, and you click it on here, and I haven't had to tweak them.
So is this in Luminar 4?
It is, yeah. It is part of Luminar 4 as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that made your picture go downhill.
Yeah, I just clicked the perspective part to see if it would fix a few things, and it actually, because the one area that I wasn't happy that it did was this to me needed to be straight,
right,
or level, and it wasn't when I hit the composition part.
Right. But you can also use those sliders at the bottom to
right,
adjust your parallaxes. Woo!
It's a little slow on this stuff.
Yeah, there is a little latency to it. I agree. And like I said earlier, a lot of this stuff is you just need to go in and just kind of play with them. But like on this, a little bit goes a long way, so you don't need very much in percentage wise.
Yeah, so it is interesting what it can do. But like here, where it cropped, to me, this is going on a little bit of an angle from using this straight line.
Right.
So I guess I would probably end up rotating it. But they make that easy enough, yeah, because you can see it's just off by, 1 degree.
But it's probably taking the horizon to be the center, to be the level point, and so that structure is probably just slightly off.
Yeah, it looks like it, because if I use the horizon, it is at 0. So you'd have to make that choice.
So that structure is probably in the real world not exactly level.
Yep.
After 100
years. Are you saying the Army Corps of Engineers wouldn't have that perfectly level? Come on.
Yes.
Well, it probably was in 1850, or whenever it was built.
Yeah, something's probably sinking a little bit. So, but this program is really pretty interesting. And I mean, in the essentials area, you've got tons of controls. You can adjust your light tint. And they've got a lot of AI sections in here. even smart contrast to help, and you can even tweak it a little bit and adjust your highlights and shadows. So it's got a lot of
even curves there, Jeff. I mean, you can even, if you're a curves user and used to that, you can do that right in here.
Yeah. I like adjusting my stuff a different way, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Curves is getting to be a little old fashioned.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, I agree with that.
But let's see. I don't know. Erase. You've got erase.
Yeah, you can go back a step if you want. Just Command Z will take you back a step.
Yeah.
Are all these adjustments adding a lot of noise to the photo? It looks kind of grainy, but.
Well, that when he did the contrast.
Yeah, I think the contrast, and this is an old file, so I've done so much to it now that it's actually getting pretty grainy.
Yeah.
If we look back at,
so history is down in the lower right corner.
Okay, yeah, but see, you look at this and it's not quite as grainy, but I've added so much contrast everywhere, it's bringing out.
Exactly, but you can go back step by step down there, right? And if you bring the history panel up, you can start moving back step by step and take it back to a point where you really liked it. So yeah, if you go back to that first highlights there,
probably
that's before you really it'll take a second to render in, but
that's a little better. There's a lot less all the smart contrast stuff and the highlight stuff that I did probably brought in quite a bit, but you can see it's kept track of everything that I've done.
Yep. And so as part of the non-destructive, when you save this file, at the end, you can go back and pick up right from where you left off at any of these things, and all that information will be there for you.
Yep. And then
we should also mention this is available as a plugin for Lightroom, for Photoshop, for Apple Photos, and a couple other programs. So you can use it either as a standalone or as a plugin.
Yeah.
So Marty, you said that it saves all the history and you can go back and go back certain steps on that save file?
Correct. You can always go back and look and see exactly what you did. Did I use this filter? How much? But if you go back at that point and change it, then everything above it then won't be there. But if you know that, okay, go back into history, for instance, Jeff, and let's pick out something there. Scroll a little further down the world.
Yeah.
But you can, like say the sunray amounts. So if you went back to the sunray tool, so now that okay, I've got sunray amount at 52%, or the sunray length at 42, but then see everything above there then isn't active. But if you go back into the tool itself, from the Essentials tab or from the Creative tab rather, and then go back into sunrays, and then you can, what your starting point was, you can adjust it within that, but at least then where you were at, how much did I do for that? So it's a good reference in that sense.
So it's not a complete history, but it gives you a starting point. Okay.
Well, it is a complete history, but it just tells you where you're at.
Yeah, but now that I adjusted it, well, actually,
kept it. Yeah, see, they did keep it in the same spot.
They kept it in the same spot, but then I did these adjustments, so it also added it on top. Okay. So it didn't erase what I had done. I thought maybe if I went back to that, it would actually take everything out, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Question.
Well, that's interesting.
If you wanted to get rid of the augmented sky, only.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah. So if you go back into there and turn it off,
Yeah, I can just hit this and get rid of it.
it'll reset it. Yeah.
Okay, is it, so does it, can you delete it, get rid of it totally, or is you just turn it off in the history?
Well, turn the tool itself off, Jeff. So over on the far right side there where you were.
Oh, yeah. Well, here, let me bring the eagle back or something back. Here's the eagle. So yeah, you can just turn it off using this part here, or you can reset the tool completely and get rid of it by hitting the backwards reset command.
Okay. So that way you can bring a different object in if you wanted to.
Yeah. So then I could bring in, say, the birds.
Okay, Alfred. Good. Somebody got my joke. Good.
I'm just going to stay quiet. But you can turn it on and off, or you can reset it.
Yeah.
Now, if we go back in history, you could also probably go back to this birds, or even back to bring the eagle back. So you could actually, go backwards.
Well, but I think what happens though is anything above that though that you weren't using or that you already had done, I think.
Yeah, then that will go. I would think would go away.
Right. And note while you're in the history there, Jeff, move you see where it says original. At any point, you can always go back to 0.0 just by clicking that button.
Yeah. So I would think that if I did something else, and this is how I screwed it up the last time, was making it dramatic.
Well, actually, the contrast, the
contrast one is what brought all the. Well, it's bringing out the grain in my my sky one. This is one of my older sky ones, which has more grain showing up.
Sure.
So that's why you're seeing more grain as I adjust, because the dramatic is just adding a lot more contrast to the image.
But there again, you can go in on the Essentials tab, you can go into the denoise filter and add a local mask to take some of that noise out of that. So you'd have to go in and paint that area.
Yeah, you'd have to paint it in.
Right.
So
that's one way that it can help that.
Yeah. So there's quite a bit. Now let's see if I can. I don't think.
Can we maybe see you edit in here a picture without doing all the bizarre crap? So you don't want to replace skies and add eagles and go extreme. Can we just see you edit a picture?
Okay, sure. Let me find. How about? Now you said where I can't add anything. Okay, so I got to be a little more choosy.
No, you don't. I mean, someone else is going to end up with that picture you have highlighted.
Okay. So let's take this one. And I would just normally start an edit. I probably wouldn't start with the template.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would end up starting with edit. I would take a look and, well, first thing I'd probably end up doing.
Yes, exactly. Take that out.
You saw that too, huh, Marty?
Oh yeah, right away. Yeah.
And then just
and everybody has a little bit different workflow on this, and it'd be interesting to see how Jeff attacks this. And I know what I would do on mine if I was doing it, but it's going to probably be a little different. But
I think I do too, but I've not seen anyone just edit a normal picture in AI.
Okay. No, I'd be curious because I haven't tried this, but I'll hit see if it suggest anything for.
It likes the whole picture. Oh, no, there you go.
No, it likes it crop, but it's I wouldn't like that crop because it's cutting off too much of this.
Right. But again, it's saying, okay, here's our suggestion, but you can change it within that.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Oops. Thought I hit reset.
And then you don't have to do the automatic composition. You could, if you just want to ratio, choose your ratio and do it manually too.
Right. Yeah, and they do have all these different ratios that you can do.
The auto just wanted to put that.
Oh, sorry, Ian. Go.
No, I was just gonna say the auto wanted to put that tree at the third. That's why it was sacrificing. It was sacrificing the cliff there because it wants that tree right on the third because it's thinking that's your focus point is what it's looking at. Probably because it's the brightest point, sharpest point.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's a good point. I didn't actually realize that's what it was doing. Then I would probably do the adjustments where I would adjust the highlights and try to bring in more of the sky.
So
I'm automatically level it, even though you only got the horizon halfway through the photo.
It probably would. This horizon should be pretty level.
I don't think it is.
Well,
right,
look at that. Yeah.
No, let the AI do it. Don't do it yourself.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, don't do the composition. Hit the go back to the original. So turn that off.
Okay.
And then hit that level button. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the horizon doesn't go all the way across, it doesn't get it, and you got to do it by yourself.
Yeah. Does seem like it is off a tad. That would be level now.
No. Yeah.
No. Generally, when I do these shots, I'm usually on a tripod and I'm using the level in the camera, but it's a good point.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm getting my software confused. When you use erase in Luminar, is Luminar the one that adds a whole nother layer and then anything you do after that, or was that on one? Anyone?
In Luminar 4, when you did erase, it didn't add an extra layer that I remember.
Okay, then
that must be on one.
Yeah, could be on one. I don't remember. The erase feature, you could tell, did a nice job of fixing it up in here. And I might look at it later as I get farther along because I see a few things like this stick here I'm not real thrilled about because it's so light. And a couple others, and the erase tool in here is pretty darn good. Just to show. We'll see what it does. Since that's bothering me.
So it's taking a couple seconds because it's analyzing obviously all the data around it. Now it did leave a little bit of a dark side on the left side there.
Yeah.
So
not horrible. I would probably end up going here and just trying to get it so it gets to be a whole dark area.
Yeah.
And try it again, or keep doing one on. Yeah, now it's looking pretty decent.
Right. Yep.
So sometimes it takes once or twice. And I'd end up going through, I see a few other little things that are bothering me. I see a couple of dots here that I don't, they're probably birds, I think, in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, while I'm here.
Those are your birds, Jeff. Those are okay.
Yeah. So you just, highlight and get them, and then you just hit the erase button, and then it just erases them.
Could be great on overhead wires going through buildings or something.
Yeah, it can do a pretty good job with a lot of that. Then, of course, I would probably adjust. I sort of like things a little warmed up here.
Yeah.
Exposure is not that bad, according to the histogram, which you got the histogram with curves, because they don't show a histogram otherwise.
Right.
Which I sort of wish they would.
Yeah, that's one of those changes from 4 to AI. Is in 4 you can see a histogram.
But at least you've got it in the curve so you can see what it would look like. And then I always, to bring more detail in the sky, I bring my highlights down, and I probably open up my shadows a little bit, which I think I did. And I think that's about all I can do for that. Then I basically tend to follow right down the row, because they generally get that stuff pretty good. Now, enhance, I don't think I really want to do anything right now with that.
Oh, but so the accent is now what was the auto AI enhance is now accent.
Yeah.
And that's actually honestly my starting point when I'm working on images. I go right to that first and then go back into the light.
Yeah. I like the sky enhancer where it brings the sky more into what I think it should look like. So generally I do the painting and all that later on. Structure, that's really just sort of like a micro contrast.
If you start with just the amount, Jeff, and not the boost.
Yeah.
Because the boost really kicks in a lot of extra contrast, but the amount will and you can see that even that brings in quite a bit.
Yep.
But again, you can brush it out of areas locally then once you get it in, if you wanted it in the trees and the rocks, but not the water, you can brush it out of the water right away.
Oh, I have to add vibrance.
Yeah, I really like the remove color cast tool. To me, it does a really good job before you do any of the other adjustments. If you went into any of the other color adjustments, it really does do a nice job there to bring you a little truer colors.
Yeah.
You stick with me, Jeff. I'll teach you a thing or two.
You'll teach me something. Then a person can decide whether you'd want to convert to black and white or not. That would be something I do last.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marty, you'll get me yet. I don't know. So what do you do with detail?
It's a nice tool, but you gotta, again, with a lot of these tools, a little bit goes a long way, so you gotta be careful.
And then you've got detail masking, sharpening masking that you can do. Denoise, I would probably come in near the end. To see if I've really had to do anything with noise. Now I gotta admit.
Now the dehaze tool in here does wonders for landscapes. It darkens a little bit, gives you really nice warm colors. It's actually a really nice tool.
Yeah, and it looks like the foliage enhancer would
that
be
does
a
a
nice
really nice
one.
job too. And where you warmed the picture up overall, this golden hour is another way to do that.
Yeah. That's too much. But I like the foliage, especially because it hits all the greens, even in this water, which is nice. And then, of course, you can vignette, which would just basically, you can see. I always like to go to extremes to see where it is and then pull it back.
And then under advanced settings, you can change the roundness and things like that there.
Yeah.
I like the inner light tool because then you can really bring just the middle light out and make it pop a little bit better.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't fooled with all of these yet, so.
But again, just a little bit because, otherwise you're.
Yeah. Yeah, because you got to watch. I start seeing if I go too far, you start to get some glowing.
Vignetting, yeah.
around the trees here. I mean, this isn't a great image by any means, but
Let's look at the original, Jeff, in comparison.
okay. Well, so there's the original. Not too bad. I think I'd still have to do some fixing up over here.
I think you
'Cause it
lost a lot
doesn't-
of detail in the tree, though. Lost a lot of detail in the leaves.
Yeah, I think the dynamic contrast or the small details in the trees might have to be dialed back just a little bit. But I think I'd leave it in the rocks, but take it out of the trees. It probably actually is under structure, Jeff. I think.
Could be. Yeah, I got that up pretty tall, pretty
But
far.
like that's where I was saying, you can leave it where it's at, but then brush it out of like the tree area or the water area and leave the rocks with that real crispness.
Yeah.
So, much like working in Photoshop, I mean, you can spend a lot of time on an image in here, getting them to look good, but it's quite a capable program, no doubt.
Yeah. So there you can see the difference.
Yeah.
But look at all the detail I picked up in the rocks down in here.
Right.
Compared to the shadow area. I mean,
how big of a flash did you use?
Yeah, isn't that amazing? So, and that's not doing anything different. That's just straight processing.
Right.
Which is nice. I mean, then of course you can get into all this stuff, but a good image shouldn't need this.
Well, the only one I use in there almost on a regular basis is Mystical.
Mystical.
And because what it does is it kind of softens just a touch and kind of makes a little bit more vibrance to it. But and there again, you can control it.
It takes care of that contrast problem in these trees.
Yeah.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, I use that tool a lot.
I use that all the
Okay.
time in portraits because I mostly use Luminar for portraits.
Sure.
So I use Mystical all the time for portraits.
Colorize is something new there. I'm not sure. Let's look at that because I don't think I've even looked at that yet.
Which one?
Right down below where it says Colorize. There you go.
Oh. Well, it looks like you can do a little
In
warming.
the Mystical, yeah, you can just within just that filter then.
Yeah.
Again, not a global.
Yeah, it's a pretty subtle adjustment.
Yeah.
Which
is what
is
you'd want.
nice.
Yeah.
So then, Jeff, as you're saying that with the process, that would all be acceptable in competitions.
Yep. Yeah, this is just processing an image. There's nothing that you've done here that you couldn't do in any competition.
Okay.
Well, although let me ask you, Jeff, I mean, in a nature picture, you took birds out and you took a branch out.
Well,
And
that's
so
okay. You're right. Yeah, that part wouldn't be allowed in nature. Taking the branch and the two birds out.
Yeah, but because those are right on the edge of the frame, you could have just cropped those out.
Yeah, I could have cropped that to
Right.
get rid of the branches right here, and that probably would have gotten rid of those two birds, and then I would have left this stick in.
Yeah.
That was here.
But even at that, you could have gone in to the shadows and highlights and or to the burn and dodge rather and darken that
Right.
down just slightly.
Darken
make
the
it less,
branch down easy enough. But it's mainly the augmented sky and adding sky stuff that would not be allowed.
Sun rays.
Sun rays, I'm not quite sure because sun rays is really a burn and dodge type thing. So that's on the edge of because you could do the same thing creating sun rays because I've done it using the burn and dodge tool. Actually the dodge tool to create the sun rays, one at a time, but it would be a really long, slow process. but it could be done. Atmosphere, adding
I think
fog.
the sun rays, I mean, you could do it, but you would not have a good picture for competition because people are going to look at that and say that's totally fake. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't do well.
Well, if you did it right,
Yes.
it could work, but it would not be as simple as going and saying, okay, I want to place the sun here and click it and have it done in 5 seconds. I could do it, but I'd probably have to spend a half hour in Photoshop adding using the burn and dodge tool to get it just the way I'd want it. So I wouldn't want to do it that way. That's why I like the sun rays. So, but technically that's really all it's doing is creating a dodge effect, a lighten.
So from a judge's perspective, put on your judge's hat, you could do it in one, but you couldn't do it in another. That might
right.
Little difficult to defend.
Yeah. And even using sun rays, it has to be done, even this tool in Luminar has to be done the right way to make it look good. It doesn't always work. It can look fake.
In this particular image, I mean, you could tell that the sun is nearly overhead from the shadow. So if there was any kind of sun rays, any judge would look at that and say, well, that don't make any sense. And
Right. Yeah. And since you don't have clouds in the sky, sun rays just wouldn't make any sense, period. You need to have, first you'd have to add the clouds. Let's see, you'd have to add a dramatic set of clouds that would make sense. And even that, let's see, if you're adding clouds, you got to watch because of the angle from these clouds, how the sun is coming through. That's how you can tell if a cloud is a fake or not. So this one, I don't know if I'd even want to try using that because it doesn't match the way the scene is lit. So you have to find.
One thing I wish they'd do is give you, an auto preview as you're skimming through those. Like with the Lutes, they'll do that in 4 when you use the Lute feature, but with all these filters, they don't give you a live view, and it would be so much nicer if they did.
Yeah. Play with your relight scene once and see if it really does relight it on this one.
Well, it does. It changes the main scene.
Right, the foreground. Yeah.
The foreground, but it doesn't do a lot. I mean, this sky could work with the beams but it really, even this sky doesn't work with this scene. Really, this kind of sky that you need to use, let's see, would be more like this. Now this would look a little bit more like what this could have been because you've got such an even bright light.
And it's coming top down now.
Yeah, it would make more sense. So, it's not just, well, I got to plop a sky with clouds in. You have to look at the direction of how the light's coming on the clouds to be able to make it work. Now, this probably works a little better in that this I could believe could be how the cloudy day could have been because you got so much blue. But again, the beams wouldn't make any sense here because the scene just doesn't work for it.
Right.
So
and that blue it's pretty strong. If you went back into the color and essentials into color, you can actually adjust that blue some. And I think actually from right here, the sky temperature, you can adjust that. Yeah.
Yeah, I could make the sky bluer instead of warmer because it's more noontime. So you would logically think
you could raise the sky exposure too.
Yeah,
I could say the sky exposure would change it, right?
Other way.
You could do it, I don't think
I'd like that. Higher to go all the way near the top.
Yeah. So there's
and
a
again,
lot to
that might be a place. yeah, you want to use your local masking or something like that too to change
Right.
that.
But you look at all the detail, how the clouds come through in this fine detail.
Right.
I'd be hard pressed to say that this sky was added. Now, yeah, again, if you threw in even a dramatic sunset one, I'd know right away that that was an added sky because it just doesn't blend with the main part of your picture.
Well, first of all, you're lit from the front, not the back. So
Right. So
takes,
you'd certainly have to flip it, which you can flip it, which would help. But yeah, still, yeah, the sun is completely wrong direction here. So,
right.
So there are ways to be able to tell. And so you do have to watch that. I got to admit, I could see adding
a hot air balloon.
Yeah, the hot air balloon. No, but like the birds, that I'd have a harder time telling. I think I'd have to do a little bit more with it.
Stretch it across the rest of the sky, I guess.
Yeah. That's too much of a defocus. And I don't know, relighting them doesn't really do too much, and maybe keeping it. But, you know, that I'd have a hard time being able to tell because I've seen a lot of birds flocking around Cave Point when there's fish closer by, and you can't tell what kind of birds these are. It would be better if they were more white birds than anything. I don't know what other birds they have here.
Oh, but there again, you can add your own shorebirds if you had pictures of shorebirds.
Yeah, and that would help because you look at what these birds are. There's not a whole. Well, these are almost look like seagulls.
Yeah, they do, but they're too dark. Yeah,
they're too dark.
Wrong. They're lit wrong.
Yeah, yeah. And even if I'd light them up at 100%, they're just shadows of birds right now. So
Jeff, there was one Q&A in there to ask if we could do a portrait image quick and try
sure,
that.
we could. Yeah, I was actually wanted to try to do that. Let me see if I can do this from
because we're way past noon already, and which is fine. I think we're all having fun here, but
yeah,
we've lost about a third of our population. But
yeah, I figured that. Marty, do you remember how I can just get to single images without catalog?
If you click that.
Here, edit a single.
Yeah, edit a single image, and then you can go drag an image in.
Yeah. Let me see what we got here. Oh, I need just a portrait here.
Yeah, you need just a basic portrait where you can see light or eyes and things like that.
That one might work.
There you go. Yeah, that'll work really well.
Yeah. So, and it looks like that is pretty much been reset. So you'd first probably just do.
Yeah, your basic editing, right?
Yeah. And I don't need to do, well, let's see what composition does just to see how it. Yeah, it's close. I would do more like that. I would get rid of some of my top. I don't think I got.
You got to either get above or below that finger. You can't have just that part of the finger there.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't catch. I wasn't looking at that. Let's get there. And just.
So this would be a good one, Jeff, to go into your into color and take off because there's a certain kind of a brownish cast to it, and that remove color cast would probably work pretty well here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
And I think your skin tones and stuff like that, I think I'd wait to get into portrait till I start
Yeah.
playing with that.
So let's see. Let's go to portrait here. If I remember right, I think
So
it's probably.
Yeah, if you did some exaggeration on these just to kind of show people what
Yeah. So you can see here, you can light the face. Slimming the face down. Actually, she would probably like it a little bit like that. All right, so then
This is where we get into the real fun stuff.
you can. It looks like you can change the color of the eyes.
Yeah,
Yep.
is that new?
Yeah, I think that is. Yeah.
You know, she's
I think
got
that's
blue
achieved
eyes.
through,
Wow, that does make them blue.
Got an owl.
Wow.
Try the what?
Owl eye. What
Ooh,
does that do? I haven't played with these yet.
Oh, it makes them orange.
Ooh, cool. So Mint must be a really
what's a
light
cat
green
eye?
then. Yeah. And cat
Oh,
eye is
that's-
probably similar to owl. Yeah.
No, it's more. It's up down slits.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. I haven't played with these other than I always use the original, but I like how you can make the eyes even maybe a little bluer and how.
So can you tone that down then from
Yeah.
here? Or
Yeah. So I think.
It
Well,
does.
yeah.
You can enlarge it. You can whiten the eye, which you always like to sometimes make their eye,
Just a
the
little
whites of
bit,
their
yeah.
eyes better.
See, I think, but under that iris visibility, I think if you brought that one all the way to the left,
Oh yeah, I bet you that's it.
yeah, it's a really
Okay, let's turn it on at 0. And then if I go to 100, yeah, that makes it a lot brighter. So yeah, you can adjust that. What I don't like is it takes it a second for it to
yeah.
render it.
Oh,
what's an iris flare?
I think that's going to be how big the irises look.
Yeah. This was even lighting, so you get 2 dots on each side of the eye, which,
Yeah.
but you can make her eyes bigger. That's a little too big, I think.
And now if you
Yeah,
really
but
give her a
cartoon.
slim face, it'll be very entertaining.
Yeah. So we whitened them, we enhanced them. I don't know that there's no red eye in there. She really doesn't have dark circles under her eyes. Let's see if.
Yeah, I was going to say if you exaggerate it, but it really doesn't show anything because she doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I saw in the
Um,
demonstrations, it does a nice job with that.
You can see the eyebrows. It brings the eyebrows in more.
Hmm.
Here's with none, and here's at a full, which sometimes you need the eyebrows better. Here you can adjust how bright the lips are in saturation or in redness. I'm surprised they don't have a way to change the color of the lipstick. Maybe that's the next version.
I'm sure that's coming. Yeah.
And we don't have teeth showing, so we can't whiten the teeth.
Right.
So that's the face one. And then you also got the skin one, which can be nice. Now, this one doesn't have, a lot of times you get a lot of highlights over in the forehead. And And it does look like it evens out the forehead a little bit.
Well, right. So it's going to be more of a softening effect to the
Yeah.
skin pores.
And here's the shine removal, which really is what you sometimes get more in the forehead.
Yep.
So that's nice. I don't think
Hey,
she's
is
got
that body
any.
one new too? What the heck?
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's right down on her chin. There's a couple spots that you might be able
let's
to.
see what it does here.
I don't know if it'll do it automatically or not, but because those are pretty subtle.
Yeah, because you got a couple here.
Yeah. But they're
really
so subtle that
Yeah. That's where I would probably come in with the erase tool and
Correct.
probably do some of those. This one down here, and maybe this one. If it's a real a beauty mark or some kind of mark, I would keep that. But it's
Right.
done a nice job on the eyes. And then I always come in, because my lighting is 2 straight lights. I usually get rid of one of these glows, because in normal stuff you wouldn't want to see 2 dots. And so if I got rid of this one, I'd get rid of this one too, so that you only had one highlight inner eye.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me get back to fitting the screen here. Just to see what body does, we've got body shape. We can skinny her up a little bit or make her a little bigger. And
doesn't really have any abs to do much with there.
Yep.
Hi, Joanne.
So, and then I want to
Interesting.
mention on any of these tools, if you click on the tool name, like if you were to click on abdomen, for instance, just the word abdomen, it'll reset that part
Okay.
back to 0.
Oh, okay. In Milwaukee?
And then you also got high key, which I haven't tried. Yeah. I mean, this is not a high key shot, so it would really be hard to do it.
Right.
But, it can give you an interesting look.
Yeah.
I don't think I can, but
So
Can you show the total before and after now?
yeah,
okay. Bye.
here's before, and there's after. Might be easier if we did this and show.
Yeah. I mean, your initial image was pretty darn good to start with for lighting and everything. So
Yeah.
it's a subtle change, but it did really highlight what you did with the eyes, the mouth, and things like that.
So
And I
it's,
think, the thing to keep in mind with any of these programs, it's not there to fix all your screw ups. It's there to enhance what you did correctly to begin with.
right. And you want a good, I mean, this was a model shoot that we did in my studio years ago. So everything was lit fairly well and evenly so that we could fix things. But there's little things like down here, she's got some hair, or yeah, it's probably a tattoo, maybe.
Actually, it looks
I
just
don't
like
know what it is.
a tag or something from the dress.
Or a
little-
tag from the dress. And here, there's a lot of stuff on this dress that would drive me crazy, and I would probably clean that up. And you can certainly do that just using that erase tool. Let's see. And usually I'd use a pen tool for this. I'm using my mouse, so. And I would do this sections at a time to make sure. Come on. Yeah, and that did a pretty lousy
Oh.
job. 'Cause
Yeah.
I did a lousy job.
Well, that and sometimes what I found is on things like that, there's so much contrast between the two of them, you're almost better off just calling it out.
Yeah.
So, and the clone tool, I think you got to go into the Pro tab for.
Yeah, that's probably, we'll try it once more this way just to see. Yeah. So if we go to Pro, first I need to get closer to be able to see it. So then you need to click for a source.
And so alt click, or option click rather. Yeah. I think your brush is too big.
Yep. Actually, I think the softness is a little too much. It's not too bad.
Well, you get a little soft on our top of her dress there too. So
yeah, but I'm not sure if then you'd have to go into. They don't have any erase here, do they?
No, but that's where I'd start with a smaller brush and
yeah,
kind of like you were saying, take a little bit at a time and you know, overall their erase tool is pretty darn good, but it's when you get into really stuff like this, you got to kind of watch it. So
this is where Photoshop to me still does a slightly better job with their content aware cloning.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And even On One, I think does a better job in some of this stuff.
But if you got it to this point, it could be that then the erase tool too might blend it. And it's just a matter of picking the right clone source as well to get it to match better. But that's sometimes where you jump in and out of different programs. Because like here, you've got some hair down here that if you're really getting picky, you might end up wanting to, take care of.
That out, yeah.
But so I would certainly end up fixing that up. There was that spot on her face that I would probably do the bulk of my work here in Luminar, and then I would probably do some of the finishing stuff in Photoshop before I'd be completely done with it. But the nice part is, from what I understand, you can make your own template then if you did everything the same way all the time.
Right. If you wanted to kind of batch them. So if you did the 3 dots there again on the far right, you can, save that and then you can name it as whatever you want to name it.
Yeah.
And it'll basically save it as a template, right?
So so then you'd be able to, if you were doing a group of these kind of shots, say like a senior portrait where you need to do the same thing all the time, you save the template and you can do all the basic stuff. It wouldn't be clone and stamp stuff, but what we did in this portrait section, that would be, what you could save as a template.
Well, and you can even see there again, like, where it says face and skin, that dot to the left of it, that indicates that you have made those adjustments within, you know, so we didn't do anything in body, we didn't do anything in high key, but we did those other 2.
Yeah.
And you can always go back and tweak those a little bit if you wanted to.
So great. Well, I think we covered the basics on this, and as we each learn more about it, we'll revisit Luminar, and we'll keep revisiting other programs.
So I'll just mention Focal Point Camera Club. We're going to start in January, special interest groups, and one of them is going to be Steve is going to do it on Lightroom, and I'm going to be doing Luminar. So that'll be an additional meeting each month that we're going to hold. And go through some of these programs for those that have them. And, I haven't bought the new On One yet, but I might do that because there's some pretty cool stuff going on there too. And do one for that as well.
Yeah.
And that's something that
Okay.
other clubs, if you have somebody within your club that's pretty handy with these programs, you might want to try. That's the advantage of doing all this through Zoom, is that we can actually do so much more as clubs than just our basic monthly meeting.
Yep. Yeah, because you can see what we're doing so much easier on a Zoom meeting than sitting in the back of the room and trying to see what we do on a screen.
Right.
So, and we can bring more people in. So, Signa, did you need something? I can allow you to talk if you'd like. Let me.
Yes, I was going to make comments regarding the judging of images that have some of these changes done to them. I don't know if I should do it now or maybe when you have more of your group with you. But the question had come up about being able to judge some of these images that have a lot of AI done to them. And so I can address that next time if you'd like, when you have maybe more of the people
Sure.
attending.
Well, why don't you just can you do a real short bit for
Well,
us right now?
Yeah, and in a way with Marty.
We only got 21, but that's still half of us.
Okay. Well, in a way, kind of what Marty was saying, that a lot of times in these competitions, when you're doing the initial go through on images, it'll be hard to maybe identify specific things that maybe have been altered. But when you get to the HMs and to the awards, there is a lot more attention made to the image. And that is when a lot of judges, especially, and usually these judges are very well experienced, that they can identify, or they'll spot things that that probably are not the artist's image, or that there is something that's been put in that just is not right. And if it comes down to where there is suspicion that maybe work from another artist or photographer had been used, they will ask for the original image. And if you put in another sky, you would also then, or other elements that you claim to be your own photograph, they will ask for proof that indeed that is what the situation was. And there have been instances just in this past year of where somebody got a gold medal and it turns out that it was not, I should put it this way too, that it's not just necessarily imposing another photographer's work, but there's kind of like a creative, I'm drawing a blank. The idea is your own.
Yeah.
And you did an image that way. And then you see other people who take that same kind of image and then impose their own photograph in there. In a way, you are stealing, I guess you call it the intellectual property of
creative license. Yeah.
Yeah. And that had been done by a photographer, and their medal was denied or removed. Because they actually had used somebody else's creative license. The other thing, when you enter a competition, the only way you can get your images uploaded or entered is by agreeing that the work is your own. And all we can do is have the photographer, the entrant, be honest. You will have people who will cheat, and they don't care. They'll say they agree, but we're on the premise that photographers who enter these competitions
are being honest that it is their own work, and you're supposed to agree. If you don't, I mean, if you agree but it's not your own work, then you can face serious sanctions. So
it's always been that way too, hasn't it, Cigna?
yes, but but there were some situations in the way that the agreement was stated. Well, let me put it this way. It's just in the last recent years that we've had that checkbox. Before, it was always assumed that it was your own, but until you have the photographer himself or herself clicking that, you really had no proof that they agreed to that. So
okay.
Anyway, so that's I guess what I wanted to say when we were discussing the judging. So
no, and that's good, because we'll have to discuss this more, and I know not everybody in this group knows about PSA as much as some of us do, and WACO's going through the same problem of trying to figure out how we should adjust the rules for some of these new conditions that are coming in. So
no, I agree, and it's just going to be harder and harder, as you say, to see when it's so good in putting a background or a sky and through all those little windows and the leaves and everything. It's just going to be that much harder on the judges. But we have to all work on the premise that it is our work, and only hope that everybody's going to be honest about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
no, it's definitely going to be a tough thing to figure out how to monitor and police. And I know
I do like that idea that was brought up early on with this conversation about, okay, so if you're honorable mention and above, that you need to ask for at least a low res version of the original image. And like you just said, Cigna, okay, let's say they did add a copy of that sky image, but then even at that, if they strip the metadata out of those files, how do you really know it's still their file too, you know?
Well, they're not supposed to strip it out. I mean,
I understand, but
well, what I'm saying is you would ask for the original sky. So obviously, if they're using composites, they should have an original somewhere that they're using that. And if they can't prove it, then I guess that's where the question
disqualified.
comes in.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's not that they will look at all of them and say, oh, is this right or wrong? There's usually, we've got such experienced judges that a lot of times they're familiar with what is out there. And they also, as you say, when you're looking at the lighting in clouds or how the shadows and effects are, there are a lot of them that are very good at spotting things that, but even then, if you used your own image, that's fine. And it turned out to be kind of wrong with the lighting. But when you get to the higher HMs and to the metals, especially, that's when they will look for the original if they don't think it's that photographer's own work.
So should it be, is I don't enter a lot of contests other than our kind of our local stuff, you know, through the state or whatever, but should it be then somewhere stated in the rules for each individual contest that it's up to the contest, whoever's putting that contest on, up to their discretion to ask for those images so that everybody knows right up front, hey, this is a possibility then that if I cheat, they might ask me for this, and so just so they're aware that could be a consequence.
It's not the ones who run the exhibition that usually have to do that. It's the judges. They will report it to an exhibition investigator, I understand, who will do the.
But when they're advertising a contest, you know, I think that it should be just up front, just saying, you know, just so you know, if the judges find that any kind of discrepancies, that they may ask for the original files.
Yeah. When you register for an exhibition, you have to read and agree to all of the standards and things, and it's stated in there that it's quite detailed as to what consequences there might be.
Okay, all right.
And I
Cindy, I think
want-
that'd be a good thing just to up front when we do competitions for the chapter, and even in the clubs,
Yes.
if it's club competition, to inform the membership up front, of those, that is a requirement.
Right. There should be
a lot of people within the clubs especially just don't know.
exactly, and it should be even for interclub competitions. There is an ethics statement. Well, it does say when you for interclub competitions that you are to follow the PSA ethics policy, and in there it does say what you're supposed to be using your own work, and anyway.
I understand that, Signa, but I think just the clubs
I
need
agree.
to announce that to their members.
Exactly. I agree. And
And
I
they
can
need
make
to-
that available to WACO and to I was in fact planning to put it in the projector newsletter that goes out to clubs. But yes.
I'm sorry. I can also run it in our Menominee Falls newsletter on a recurring basis, like every other month or when competitions are coming up.
Exactly.
Just so that they keep knowing, no excuse for saying, well, nobody told me about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It needs to be in the rules for like the club showcase that like Menominee Falls just entered, because there's nothing stated in any of the rules that say this, and it should really get to the rules, because a lot of the clubs don't go onto the PSA website to find this stuff. So some of that needs to get
at the local
shown
club
a
level.
little better and easier.
Right. It's hard, with the clubs to even get the clubs to know this, because in PSA, in case you're not familiar, the clubs that are members of PSA have what's called a club rep. That's the liaison between PSA and the club. And there are a lot of times communications that are sent out to the club rep who just does not bother to pass that information on to the club officers or club competition director. There's that lack of liaison, I guess you could say. So sometimes it is very difficult to get the clubs themselves to know what's going on, because they don't have that effective communication.
Our club rep is deceased.
So you don't have one?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh.
Yeah, we do now. I'm the club rep.
Like I say, you can always choose another one, right?
Yeah, but
yes.
But yeah, Bill never had gone onto the website, never knew about any of the rules. So the stuff that came through, we wouldn't know about. And I got to admit, when it came to some of this stuff, and I've entered enough PSA competitions to know that I didn't know about the ethics statement. And when I searched for the ethics statement, I think it took me close to an hour to find that ethics statement, because it was hidden so deep into the website.
Well, that is, and I'll say this, that is the problem we have with the current website. It is, I don't know when it was reworked, changed, I think I'll say 2012. But through the years, there's been so much that's been linked that it's, as we call, a rabbit hole, because you have so many different tunnels and links, and it's difficult. We are in the process of having a new website that will be so simple and so user friendly that it should hopefully make a big difference.
Yeah. No, and the only thing that I'm coming to it with, like for the club showcase that the Falls just entered, what needs to be done is that stuff has to be in the rules that are sent out to each club, and that would save the rep from having to search or know about all these rules that are sort of hidden away, just like you do when you enter a regular PSA International, where you've got all those rules listed, that should be listed on the club, interclub showcase that we do, or any of the stuff, even the PJs. Well, the PJ stuff, there weren't a whole lot of rules when our club entered the PJ competition, other than we knew that you couldn't, remove stuff because it was a PJ section.
Don't remove the body.
Right, don't remove the body. But that stuff should be displayed in the rules when you enter those sections, instead of us having to search for the rules somewhere. That's all I'm saying. It would make it easier than,
I think it's, and I will just say this, the PJ division, the photo travel, and the nature division, what we call the reality division, have created handbooks that will give specific illustrations of what is allowed and what is not, and besides verbiage. This is both for the people who are entering in those divisions and for judges of those competitions.
Yeah.
So that they are familiar with what the situation is. And the handbooks are excellent. They should be available, I believe, right now on the website.
I'm looking as we speak.
Yes, and I thought they were supposed to be for the interclub club competitions in PJ and in photo travel and in nature.
Well, we didn't have it available to us when Menominee Falls was entering last year, because I ran it. I just knew that PJ you couldn't do it, and I told our members they couldn't do this, this, and this from entering other PJ clubs, but I never found it on the website, at least easily.
Well,
and it should have been. Unfortunately, the guy that ran the PJ at that time was not very good at informing us about what rules were, and there's not much on that web page for it.
I hope we have that fixed now, because there is.
I hope it gets fixed up, because
there's a new person
I've complained
in charge.
about that website for years. And I can see Marty's found it really quick.
Well, actually, no. What I found was just the description of each division, but it doesn't. I was hoping from there that it would take me to each individual division.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, you should be in the, if you go to the PSA Interclub, there should be where you go to the.
Well, so I went to divisions, and then if you go to divisions, like if I click on photojournalism, for instance. Oh wait, here it is. Yeah, guide further guidance. Okay. Okay. So download that for me on this page. Go to that page.
These handbooks are new in that they've been developed in the past year, so they should be available for this coming competition season, especially. I think.
Are you going to tell everybody, like in the projector, so that we know as a rep that they're available? Or
yes, I will.
Because, the hard part was Bill was our rep for Menominee Falls, and Bill he never went onto that website and knew about the stuff. So, I mean, when I took over some of the stuff when we were doing like the PJ Interclub, I knew enough about it, and I was the guy that was handling that. But
no, but I mean, that's one of the reasons, like as state membership director, I've just been pretty diligent about trying to get people, all members, all PSA members, to go and investigate the site and find answers there, because it's not just up to that club rep, it's up to us as individual members. I mean, as an individual member, if you're entering competitions, you should know where to go find that information, and more so now than ever, because since we're not listing them in the journal anymore and everything is on the website, they have to go there to find that information.
Right.
So,
but there's a lot of members that aren't. Yeah, there's a lot of members that are reps that aren't a member of PSA.
Exactly. But they still get, as a club rep, even if they're not a PSA member, they with their login information can get into the PSA website.
Exactly.
To that section.
Yeah.
But Cigna's 100% right. When we get this new website up and running, it's going to be a night and day difference from what we have now, and it'll have a search engine built into it that, if you go to search for some of the stuff, it should bring it right up much, much faster and easily for you.
Right.
Well, I'm looking forward to it because I've had nightmares trying to find stuff on that website. And
yeah, well, for 5 years that I've been a member, it's it's been my biggest complaint. So
right.
Yeah.
The first time when I was putting the newsletter together to look for information about the PSA, I'm going, there's got to be like 30 or 40 tabs here. Where do I start?
I think the web. Yeah.
There are over 5,000 pages on the website right now.
I was just going to say that. Yep. Yep. And it was difficult to keep it up to date because you would change one thing, but you wouldn't maybe know where all the other links took you.
Right.
And so it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
The other thing I just want to mention, and we can let it go until next time. We're also going to try to have it so that besides the club rep being listed for a club with their email, we were also trying to get the club president and the email on there so that there are at least 2 people in that club that will be getting information as to what's going on when there's a communication.
Okay. What we really need is that every member that's a member of a PSA club needs to join PSA and be done with it. That's what we really need, right?
Yeah, yeah. That would be nice.
That would be nice, but that gets awfully expensive for a lot of people.
Oh, I know. I'm not saying, although $45 for a membership gets you so much that's free. I mean, you have all these free online education courses, webinars. It's for $45. You can't find another organization that offers you free things that PSA
Signa, did
does.
I not read something somewhere that after the first year, there's actually going to be a better incentive than that? When you renew your membership, multi-year memberships?
For the promotional one, you mean?
Yeah. I can't remember what I read on that, but there was
It was
something.
a 5-year promotion. If you joined 5 years, you have quite a savings.
Yeah.
Per year for that price.
Resolution from me, and I know you're recording this, so you can always go back, but I will join PSA in 2021.
Good. And if you if you have any questions, obviously I can, or Marty, or Jeff can help you with any questions you may have.
Yeah.
Have things regarding clubs. I am the clubs chapters, clubs, and councils vice president. So
I do the newsletter for the Menominee Falls Club, so I can get
good
information.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Signa. It's good information for this, even though we're down to 17 or so people. But and we'll have to talk about PSA. Maybe Marty and I can come up with a second hour for PSA and talk about everything that they do. And once they get their website up, that's decent.
Yeah, that would be
before.
the time to do it and introduce that website to everybody and walk through it and show them,
Right.
hey,
Yeah.
this is how much simpler it's going to be. So, and I don't know, Signa, how it sounds like it's coming fairly soon, but I didn't have any real target date. So if it's going to be just within the next couple of months, or if we're still a half a year out or what, I'm not sure.
I would say half a year. We're already working on a lot of the lot of little parts of it, but and I think for a while it will be an integrated. Part of it will be through the old system, and part of it will be through the new. But I'm not sure if they're thinking in 6 months we'd be having a changeover completely. I'm not.
Hopefully before the photo festival, if it happens.
I have not. I won't say, because I'm not involved in it directly, other than my section.
Yeah,
and
I've been getting emails from Jackie on different things, but I know it's a ways off yet.
Yeah.
Well, once it gets here, we'll have to promote it, because that's been my biggest complaint about PSA lately is how bad that website is, especially when they criticize the ones that I do. And I go,
Right.
well, you shouldn't judge that
Well,
much.
that's a whole different issue though, Jeff. You can't blame that. I mean, that's a whole judging thing.
And that's not PSA that's doing the judging. I mean, it's individual judges. So
Yeah, I know.
Other
I
PSA
know.
members, but yeah.
so anyway,
But no, I'll always kid that. I'll keep kidding Marty about how our stuff gets judged, and it's just the fun of it. So
Yeah, I agree. You know.
but no. Well, I think we better wrap this up. We've already gone almost an hour over. But that's the fun part with this. We don't have any set hours, as long as we even have 17, 14. We had over 50 people today, which was a lot more than what I thought. So I was expecting 10 or 15 just to show up, period, the day after Christmas. So, so it's been great. I don't know what the special hour will be next month. I'm still working on that, so we'll see if I come up with something exciting. If somebody has a suggestion, please send it to me, and I will add it in.
Jeff, what is the date for next month? Is it the 23rd?
Yeah, I think it is
Yeah,
the
it looks like it.
23rd.
Yeah.
Or is it the 18th? Or is it the-
I could
It's
tell you
supposed to be
right-
the third Saturday?
No,
It's
fourth.
the fourth
Oh,
Saturday, so
fourth,
it's
okay.
the 23rd.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we got our chapter meeting on the 24th, correct?
Right.
I gotta
So
put up with you people 2 days in a row. Come on here.
yeah, isn't that fun? So, all right. Well, good seeing everybody, and we'll see you again in a month.
Happy New Year, all.
Have a happy New Year to everybody.
Bye.
Okay.
Jeff, you got anything for me? Otherwise, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me
I guess everybody will. There's a few hangers on there on the participants listening in.
yeah. I just got to stop the YouTube.
Yeah, both recordings, right?
Yeah. They don't make stopping it very easy.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have never
Yeah,
tried
see,
to
when
do
I
that.
click that,